In this video, you will learn about construction site clearing and grubbing operations. While we will generally define clearing and grubbing here, recognize that each project will have a specification section setting the specific project's requirements. Typically, we can say that clearing and grubbing is the removal and disposal of woody vegetation within the designated clearing areas of the site. Under this definition, removal of grass or weeds will not be considered as clearing and grubbing work. Sometimes clearing and grubbing are defined separately, and occasionally portions of sites are cleared but not grubbed, depending on the type of project. So, under the idea of separate definitions, clearing is the above-ground removal of trees, brush, and other debris with disposal. And grubbing is the removal and disposal of all stumps and roots at or below the surface. Note that disposal is a key part of any definition of this work. We'll talk about disposal in a couple of minutes, but first let's look at some typical equipment used in clearing and grubbing work. The first thing we need to do is fell or uproot the trees and brush. This is usually done with either dozers, and here's an example of a dozer. Notice how this dozer has extra protection for the operator and the machine itself. Falling trees are a high safety risk and all precautions must be taken. The felling of trees can be done with a dozer blade or often with a special rake attachment like we see here that will be used to help keep dirt out of the cleared material. Another common tool is an excavator with a grappling type attachment. With this thumb or grapple attachment, debris can be picked up and stacked where a dozer could only push it. Our third type of machine is a loader with a rake. In the upper left, we see a crawler loader with a rake attachment. The crawler machine will have much better ground traction than a wheeled machine, but at the trade-off of lower travel speeds. The remaining three images show wheel loaders, which are excellent for carrying and stacking and loading out cleared debris. Sometimes stumps have to be grubbed out separately. Both dozers and excavators are used for this operation. Roots that remain can require additional grubbing work, and depending on the amount, type, and depth, a number of options can be used. The most common practice is to use a wheel loader, which has good travel speed, with the rake pushed below the surface as it moves forward. Another option is the use of specialized root picking machines if the size of the site warrants such. The image in the upper left corner is a type of root picking machine that pulls the roots up a chain belt, which allows the soil to fall off, while the roots go into a hopper at the back of the machine. The other two images show chipping and grinding machines that can be used to dispose of light materials in place. The lower left is a dedicated machine called a hydro axe, and the right image is a chipping attachment for an excavator. The last option for root removal is to have a crew of laborers physically pick up the roots as they are found. We discussed alternative machines when we looked at the last set of images, talking about chipping and grinding machines. Let's take a minute to look at the typical process then of clearing and grubbing on a project site. If you have viewed the stormwater compliance video, you will remember that the installation of stormwater controls is the first activity on the site. Sites will often have preserve areas which are designated to have the trees remain. The identification and protection with fencing or barricades of these areas is important before wholesale clearing operations begin. It is also common that selective clearing or underbrush removal and even pruning of trees to remain be performed initially. The sale of timber is also another concern. In some cases, the landowner may harvest timber before turnover of the site for construction. At other times, the contractor may sell the timber to help lower his cost of doing the work. Regardless of who makes the decision to sell timber, there are implications resulting from logging operations. Let's take a quick look at a few things to consider. The short version of this slide is, sometimes the site will have been logged or the clearing contractor may be required to salvage timber. The commercial logging process does not leave a clean nor totally cleared site, and the stumps are always left in the ground by the shearing machinery used. Bottom line, selling timber may add some income, but it can also add significant cost to a clearing and grubbing operation. Okay, let's go back to the flow diagram. So at this point, we have identified that stormwater controls must be in place before starting clearing, and that in most cases there will be some need to protect trees or areas of the site from potential clearing operations damage. In addition, it is usually necessary to very clearly establish the limits of the area to be cleared in regard to adjacent property owners. Okay, once the above issues have been addressed, then the production clearing and grubbing work can begin using some of the equipment we reviewed. Now, here's the big item. How will we dispose of the cleared and grubbed debris, and how much will it cost? Well, as the arrows indicate, there are three basic options. Let's take a look at them next. First and foremost, it is always more economical and faster if disposal can take place on the project site. The left image illustrates one method of burning on the site with the use of a pit and a forced air device. The portable machine burns debris at a very high temperature and with minimal smoke. Chipping or grinding, as you see on the right side, is also a popular alternative when burning is not possible. Often the chip materials can be buried or incorporated into the project site. The last option, in the center, is hauling the material off-site to an approved landfill. The downside of this option is the considerable cost of loading and trimming each truckload, hauling it to the landfill location, and then paying a tipping fee to dump the material. Okay, let's wrap this up by looking at a few issues that project management would normally be concerned with. With more time, some interesting stories could be shared here, but let's just lump a few project management concerns together. First is delineation of clearing limits. The message here is that it is very easy for an equipment operator working in the woods to clear the wrong trees or to take his machine in areas where they are not allowed, such as wetlands and protected areas. Clearing of large trees is dangerous work, and one personal example is a tree falling in the wrong direction, then severing a live power line, which in turn fell atop a nearby school bus full of children. Fortunately, no one was injured. On the grubbing side, the removal of roots to the size and depth specified can be a huge and unexpected cost if the contract documents are not taken literally. Again, this is experience speaking.